The ballroom of Silvercrest Manor glowed under chandeliers, tables draped in ivory linen, centerpieces sparkling with crystal beads. The wedding of the year, wealthy, photographed, whispered about, was in full preparation mode. Staff rushed around like bees with polished shoes. Amara Brooks stepped through the side service entrance, carefully guiding a tall white box on a rolling cart. She was in her early 30s, graceful, steady-handed, wearing simple black chef whites, dusted with powdered sugar. Her eyes held quiet focus, the kind that comes from years of perfecting every detail. She had spent 3 days crafting this cake. 4 tiers, smooth buttercream, hand-piped lace, sugar flowers that looked so real they could breathe. To her, it wasn't just dessert, it was her art. From across the room, Carolyn, the head wedding caterer, pinched lips, pearl necklace, posture like judgment, noticed her and narrowed her eyes. "Oh, you must be the delivery girl," Carolyn said, voice dipped in syrup and condescension. Amar's hands remained steady on the cart. "I'm the baker." Carolyn blinked, surprised. Then amusement curled at the corner of her mouth. "You? You made that cake?" Her gaze traveled slowly, deliberately, from Amar's face to her hands, then back. She didn't try to hide what she was thinking. Amara didn't flinch. "Yes," she answered softly. "My bakery was commissioned." Carolyn clicked her tongue, amused in the worst way. "Well, just make sure you don't smudge the icing while moving it. These clients have standards." She gave a laugh that tried to sound playful, but landed like a slap. Amar had heard that laugh before. Stores, offices, receptions. The laugh that said, "You don't belong here." She simply nodded and kept working. With slow, practiced precision, she lifted each tier and began assembling the cake on the decorated table. Every movement was art. Calm, exact, intentional. The room quieted. Even servers stopped to watch. It was like watching a painter finish a masterpiece. But Carolyn stepped closer, arms folded, trying to reassert control. "Well, a presentation is one thing," she said louder now, wanting an audience. "But I hope it tastes decent. Some people can make things look nice, but—" She paused, smiling sweetly. "No real training, you know?" The words weren't about cake anymore. They were about who she thought deserved to be a professional. A few staff members exchanged glances. Awkward, uneasy. Amara placed the final sugar peony on the top tier and stepped back. The cake glowed under the chandelier. Soft. Elegant. Alive. She turned to Carolyn, voice warm but steady. "You're welcome to try a slice later. The judges will." Carolyn blinked, just once. "The judges?" "Yes," Amar said. "This cake is being submitted for the State Wedding Culinary Showcase." She didn't need to brag. She just spoke truth. "They'll be here tonight." A ripple of surprise went through the room. Carolyn's smile flickered. Amara wiped her hands gently on her apron, packed her empty boxes, and headed toward the exit. Before she left, she looked back. Just once, not with triumph, but quiet certainty. "I always make sure my work speaks for itself." Then she was gone, leaving behind silence, and a cake that had already begun speaking. As the afternoon settled in, the ballroom transformed from preparation chaos to polished elegance. Soft, classical music floated through the air. Fresh candles flickered in gold holders. Servers carried trays with practiced grace, but the real conversation circulated around the cake table. Guests approached with hushed admiration. "Is that lace edible? Those flowers look real. Who made this?" Carolyn hovered nearby, stiff smile plastered on her face, trying to redirect the attention. "The catering team oversees all presentation details," she would say, as though the cake simply arrived flawless. But people weren't listening to her. They were studying the cake, the symmetry, the craftsmanship, the love in every detail. Anyone who had ever decorated a cupcake knew. This was skill born from years of dedication. Across the room, the event host, a poised woman with a clipboard, approached Carolyn. "Which bakery did you hire? The showcase judges are arriving soon and they'll want to speak to the creator." Carolyn's smile froze. She felt the burn of everyone's eyes. "Oh, well," she stammered. "She's just a small independent baker. Nothing notable." The host frowned as if the words tasted off. Well, she said, tone cool, the work is extraordinary, and the judges value originality. Be sure she's available when they arrive. Carolyn nodded, but her throat tightened, because she had no idea how to contact Amara. She hadn't asked her name, she hadn't asked her bakery, she hadn't even treated her like a professional. Only a delivery girl. Meanwhile, the wedding flowed into motion. Decorations shimmered, laughter echoed, champagne glasses clinked. The bride and groom swayed across the dance floor, bathed in warmth and celebration. Then, just as dessert hour approached, the culinary showcase judges entered. 3 of them. Recognizable, respected, serious. The ballroom quieted under the gravity of their presence. They approached the cake table with slow, deliberate reverence. Carolyn followed behind them, hands clutched too tightly, palms damp. The lead judge examined the cake, leaning close, not with skepticism, but admiration. Who crafted this? He asked, voice carrying across the room. Dozens of heads turned. Carolyn opened her mouth, but before she could speak, a soft voice answered from the doorway. I did. Every head swiveled. Amara had returned, not in flour-dusted kitchen clothes now. She wore a sleek black dress, hair styled in soft curls, posture calm, radiant. She looked like what she had always been, a professional, an artist, a woman who belonged. The judges stepped toward her with respect, not surprise. We've seen your work at regional competitions, one of them said. Your sugar floral technique is unmistakable. A murmur of "oh" rippled through the crowd. Carolyn's face drained of color. She had mocked the very person everyone else already recognized. Amara smiled, not smugly, not sharply, just truthfully. Thank you, she said. I'm honored to present this piece tonight. The judge nodded. Shall we begin the tasting? Carolyn took one small step back. For the first time today, she said nothing. The ballroom grew still as the judges took their places at the front table. Servers stood ready, gloved hands steady, waiting for the signal. Amara remained calm, her presence grounded, her expression soft but sure, like someone who understood the work was already done. What came next was simply recognition catching up. The lead judge sliced into the bottom tier with careful precision. The room seemed to lean forward as the knife slid cleanly through the buttercream and layers of sponge. A server placed the first slice before him, and he lifted his fork. One bite. Chew. Silence. Then his eyes lifted with unmistakable approval. Not polite approval. Real admiration. A second judge tasted, eyebrows rising at the balanced flavors. The third paused mid-bite, savoring. People didn't need commentary. Every expression spoke clearly. Around them, whispers swelled like a soft tide. This is incredible. The texture, look at it. She did this? Carolyn watched from the side, face pale, hands clasped too tightly. She remembered her earlier words, delivery girl? These clients have standards. I hope it tastes decent. Each phrase returned now, echoing louder than the conversations in the room. Her stomach sank as she realized everyone else was remembering them too. The lead judge finally spoke, his tone warm but authoritative. Balanced sweetness, delicate structure, exceptional craftsmanship. The sugar petals alone demonstrate years of practiced skill. This is work at a master level. A soft ripple of applause followed, gentle, appreciative, growing. Then, the wedding host stepped forward, raising a small microphone. Ladies and gentlemen, as part of tonight's event, the State Wedding Culinary Showcase Committee will be awarding the honor of Best Wedding Cake of the Year right here at this reception. The room held its breath. The judges exchanged brief nods. The lead judge announced clearly, the award goes to Amara Brooks and Brooks and Bloom Bakery. Applause burst. Not forced or polite, but joyful, real, surprise, mixing with admiration. The bride clapped with delight. The groom raised his glass toward Amara. Guests cheered, cameras lifted. Someone whistled from the back. Amara didn't glow with victory. She simply stood in the truth she had built with her own hands. She bowed her head slightly and smiled. Thank you, she said, voice steady. It means everything when craft is valued. I believe celebration should taste like love, not status. Her words landed gently, yet powerfully. Carolyn stared at the floor, shame tightening in her chest. She hadn't lost to a competitor. She had revealed herself. What she assumed was superiority had been ignorance. What she dismissed as small had been excellence, and the difference between them now was undeniable. Amara turned, catching Carolyn's eyes, not with anger, not with triumph, just clarity. Some lessons did not need to be spoken aloud. The room returned to joy, champagne popping, guests crowding in for slices of cake, laughter rising in warm, glittering waves. And in the middle of it all, Amara stood not above anyone, just seen. As music swelled back into the ballroom and guests drifted toward the dessert table, Carolyn lingered by the wall, shoulders drawn tight. People passed her without noticing. She felt invisible in a room she once commanded. It wasn't the award that stung. It was the truth she had run into. She hadn't seen Amara, because she had never looked. Meanwhile, Amara moved through the crowd with ease. Guests thanked her, complimented her, asked for business cards. A few even requested future orders for upcoming weddings. Her smile was gracious, but never boastful. She wasn't here to prove anything. Her work had spoken louder than any argument ever could. Eventually, she noticed Carolyn still standing alone. No one was near her, no clipboard, no posture of authority. Just a woman who looked small in the space she once believed she owned. Amara approached quietly. Carolyn startled, then straightened, trying to rebuild her mask. Your cake. It was... She swallowed. The words felt unfamiliar in her mouth. Beautiful. Truly. Amara nodded, not dismissive, not triumphant, just accepting. Thank you. Carolyn's voice cracked just slightly. I misjudged you. There it was. Not elaborate, not rehearsed. Raw. Amara held the moment gently, like something breakable. Most people don't realize they're doing it, Amara said softly, until they pause and see. Carolyn looked down, eyes glistening more from realization than emotion. I don't want to be that kind of person anymore. Amara didn't offer immediate forgiveness, because forgiveness wasn't the lesson. Growth was. She simply replied, then don't be. Start with the next person, and the next, and keep going. No sermon, no humiliation, just truth with enough room to change. Carolyn nodded, slow, sincere. For the first time that day, she didn't feel defensive. She felt responsible and open. Across the ballroom, the band began a new song. The newlyweds shared their first dance under falling lights. Amara stepped back, giving Carolyn space to breathe, to reflect, to begin again. She returned to her cake table, where guests were eagerly sampling slices and praising her work. She answered questions, smiled, engaged, but never once looked like she needed validation. She already had it, in her craft, in her integrity, in how she handled moments that revealed people to themselves. The ballroom glowed warm and golden around her. Her place here wasn't granted. She made it. Every tear, every sugar petal, every quiet step past doubt had led her here. And now, it was simply hers. By the end of the night, the ballroom had settled into a soft, joyful hum. Guests danced under chandelier light, the air warm with celebration. The cake table, once a quiet corner, had become the heart of the room. Slice after slice disappeared, each bite followed by a delighted gasp or a murmured, "Oh my goodness." But the moment that mattered most came later, when the bride and groom approached Amara. The bride's eyes were shining, not from the spotlight, but from something real. She took Amara's hands gently. "We chose you because your work felt like love," the bride said. Tonight, everyone felt that. Amara breathed in slowly, the words resting softly inside her. She didn't need applause. She didn't need headlines. This, connection, meaning, memory, was the real reward. The groom nodded. "You didn't just make a cake. You made part of the day we'll never forget." Amara smiled, warm, grateful. "Thank you. That's all I ever hoped for." They hugged her like family, not vendor. When they walked away, Carolyn watched from a distance, not with jealousy, but quiet understanding. She wasn't the center of the room anymore, and she realized she never needed to be. She had a different role now, to learn, to grow, to treat people with the dignity she once withheld, without thinking. She approached once more, nothing forced, nothing rehearsed. "I'm learning," she said simply. "That's how change begins," Amara replied. No bitterness, no triumph, just truth. As the night drew on, Amara packed her tools and wiped down the cake stand. Her work for the evening was done, but her path was just unfolding. Outside, the cool night air greeted her. She looked up at the sky, calm, grounded. The world hadn't shifted dramatically, but she had helped one corner of it grow kinder, not by shouting, not by arguing, but by doing what she loved exceptionally well. By letting her craft speak louder than prejudice, by remaining whole, steady, and rooted. And that, quietly, beautifully, was how real change lasts. She opened the door to her van, drove home under a sky full of stars, and smiled. Because tomorrow there would be another cake, another celebration, another chance to create beauty. And beauty, real beauty, always leaves a mark.